Representative Malliotakis, thank you so much for joining us here on NewsNation.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
I'd like to start, first of all, with your thoughts on the impeachment of former President Trump. Those in favor of impeachment have said it is critical that the president be held accountable for his words and his actions. Where do you stand on this?
I oppose the impeachment. I voted against it last week, and I was listening to a little bit of the Senate floor earlier today. I think Senator Rand Paul said it right. What the president did was not incite, number one. Number two, he's no longer in office, and impeachment is supposed to be targeted toward an individual who is in current office and needs to be removed. And third, if you're going to impeach a president over any words that he said that they claim are incitement, then we have to look at what the Democrats have also said in terms of, Maxine Waters and Cory Booker and others who have used political speech as well. I really feel that we're setting not only a double standard here, but it's a very dangerous precedent. I mean, the fact that they're going to move forward with a trial against the president who is no longer in office, I think it's unprecedented, and we shouldn't be setting that type of precedent now. I think that if the goal is truly to unite and to move on, as President Biden has said, and as Democrats have said and Republicans have said, then let's do just that. I think there are so many challenges before us right now. We're still overcoming this pandemic. We want to reopen our economy, get Americans back to work. We have so many challenges that we need to stay focused. And I don't see a purpose in what they're doing.
Isn't part of the objective, though, at least from Democrats, not just to impeach a president who is no longer in office, but also prevent Donald Trump from running again in 2024?
Well, that is what the speculation is, and certainly it would prevent him from running in 2024. But again, then it just shows how political and how partisan this truly is. I don't believe that we should be going down this road, and the fact that if they're, if it is that they are motivated by the very fact that they want to remove him from the potential pool of candidates for 2024, then that just shows you how truly partisan and corrupt the process is. Look, I think no matter what, President Trump is going to play an active role in American politics. He still is the leader of the Republican Party. He has a tremendous following. There are tens of millions of Americans who wanted to see him reelected. And he has a movement that he truly grew over the last 4 years by putting America first and making sure that he was always advocating for the interests of the American people, and with the understanding that whatever policies he was putting forward was to improve America's economy, to restore and expand the number of jobs that were available to the American people, to make us more secure as a nation, and always putting America first. So I think that is a very popular movement that will continue to grow. And if this is truly about just preventing him from running in 2024, then that is sad and just shows how partisan and polarized the House of Representatives have become.
You have said that just now that he is the leader of the Republican Party, but many say the Republican Party right now is fractured. So how do you plan to address that in your newly elected position?
Sure. We are obviously a fractured party. We have to come together. I think what we need to do is realize that the task before us is so critical that we need Republicans to join forces to push back against what may be a very radical agenda coming from the Biden administration and the Democrats that now control the Senate and the House. And remember that the margin is very slim, not only in the Senate, but look at what's happening in the House. It's just a few votes away from taking the majority. And so if we stay focused and we really push the proposals that we know the American people do support, which is why we picked up so many seats in the House this last cycle, they want to make sure that we're preserving freedoms and liberties. They want to make sure that we're getting this economy jump-started again, that we are restoring the jobs lost across this nation over the last few months with this pandemic. They want to make sure we reopen our schools. That is what I believe that the American people want us to focus on, and we need to come together to do that. And I expect that the radical fringe of the Democratic Party, meaning people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and the Socialist Squad, will be trying to push the president more and more to the left. And we can't allow them to hijack the American people's agenda. We need to make sure that what we're offering as alternatives is also being listened to and incorporated in the final proposals that come out of the House and the Senate. In order to do that, we need to stand united, and we need to make a push for President Biden, who said he wants to be the president of all Americans, and the president who said that he wants to unite us, to actually tell him why our messaging and why our proposals are better, to make sure that some of that is incorporated into the agenda. So my goal as a new member will be to not only push back on that radical left fringe that we see in the Democratic Party that is moving that party more and more to the left, and America more and more on the left, but also to try to have my colleagues understand that we need to stay united. We can't have infighting in this party. And the more that we stay united, the more successful we can be on delivering for the American people and stopping that radical fringe.
I will get your thoughts a little bit more on the so-called squad and also the Freedom Force, because I do want to hear more about that. But first, you posted a video on January 9th, 3 days after the attack on the Capitol. In the clip, you called for backing the blue and supporting law enforcement. That video, I just checked less than an hour ago, has 3.7 million views. Why do you think that that particular post drew so much attention?
Well, on the campaign trail and in my daily life, I've always said that we need to support our men and women in blue. I think it's so critical. If we don't have public safety, we don't have anything. And here in New York City, I could tell you that we have seen politicians who have really hurt our police department, have made us less safe. Crime has soared as a result. Criminals are being released back onto the street in droves. And I've been very vocal against that. And also the defunding of our police. That particular video happened to go viral because after I posted it, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez decided to attack me for my support of the police. She is obviously someone who not only supported defunding the police, but after the NYPD budget was cut $1 billion, which is 1/6 of their budget, she actually went out there and said that it wasn't enough, that defunding meant defunding. And so I'm going to not waver in my support of the police. The men and women in blue do a great job keeping us safe. They need elected officials who will have their back, who will fight for resources and tools to do their job. And looking at New York, I mean, the New York Attorney General is now even suing the police department. And it's amazing to even think about that. Instead of going after the looters and rioters, she wants to go after the police department and how they acted during those horrible protests and riots on the streets of New York City over the summer months.
Well, not only was she critical of your video, some are calling, including her, for your resignation, including some Democratic colleagues in the House saying that your calls to object to the Electoral College vote fueled substantiated claims of widespread fraud. How do you react to those calls for your resignation, and how do you move forward from this?
Look, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm here to represent the people of Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn. The majority of my constituents are happy that I stood up and advocated on behalf of election integrity. Again, this was never about overturning an election, as some of them claim. This was about pointing out that there are irregularities in our systems, that we need to make improvements to our election system to safeguard the American public vote. I didn't hear them complaining when Nancy Pelosi voted against certification of Ohio's electoral votes in 2005, or Democrats objecting to electoral votes of every Republican president since 1989. So again, we see a double standard happening here. I was within my right as a duly elected member to vote against certification of 2 states, knowing that it wasn't going to change the outcome of the election. But I hope that these concerns of the American people, that they want to make sure that we are improving the integrity of our system, making sure we're safeguarding it, whether that's requiring voter ID laws, doing away with any ballot harvesting tactics, making sure that we have ample time for Board of Elections to review voter registrations and make sure that individuals are eligible to vote in their jurisdiction. They actually are American citizens. That is all part of a push that my colleagues and I are making with the new Save Democracy Act, which would implement some of these safeguards that we think are needed.
Let's talk about the Freedom Force. Who are these Republicans, you included, and what are you hoping to accomplish?
Well, during orientation, we got to meet each other. It's a great freshman class, by the way, a very dynamic class. Most women ever in history of the Republican Party serving in Congress. We have minorities, African Americans, Hispanics, Asians. It really is a dynamic class of people who I believe are going to bring great experience and great perspective to the House of Representatives. Among the class, we have Victoria Spartz, who is an immigrant from the Ukraine, grew up under Soviet Union rule. We also have Carlos Jimenez, who came here as a 6-year-old boy from Cuba to escape the Castro regime. Maria Salazar, also representing Florida, who's the daughter of Cuban refugees. My mother is a Cuban refugee, and my father's an immigrant from Greece. Look, we're here, and many of us were motivated because we wanted to stop socialism from spreading within the United States of America. And we were bonded automatically from our family experiences. And so we're going to take that experience and we're going to push it back on what AOC and the others are proposing. I think the American people need and want a force that's going to stand up and present an alternative viewpoint. Look, we stand for freedom. We stand for preserving our liberties. We want to make sure that future generations have that opportunity to achieve the American dream as we did. In order to do that, we need to preserve the American dream and the environment for that dream to prosper. And so we're going to be pushing back hard on the radical left's policies and also pushing what we believe is a good, positive agenda to preserve the American dream and America's prosperity.
You have brought up AOC several times, so I'm curious how you come to a compromise. Oh, I think we lost you there for a second.
Sorry.
Are you back? Oh, no, that's okay.
I'm here.
It dipped to black. Congresswoman, you have brought AOC up several times. How do you compromise the two parties, the two people? What is your plan to work with her and to work with others to have some commonality? What common ground can you find to move forward?
Yeah, well, look, I continue to say that I will work with anyone and everyone who shares the same goals as I do, and that is to preserve freedom and liberty in this country, to preserve the American dream and the opportunity to reach it for our young people and next generation, to make sure that we limit government's role in our lives. And I think that we don't necessarily see eye to eye with members of the Socialist Squad, but certainly as New Yorkers, I think that Rep. Ocasio-Cortez and I can agree on areas of education for New York, funding for New York City housing, need to upgrade our infrastructure and the transit system here in New York City. So, look, I know we're going to disagree on things, but I think there is some areas where there could be common ground, particularly as it relates to New York City specifically. And my job is to find common ground with my colleagues and the president and try to implement some of that into policy and actual law. But my job is also to stand up and be vigilant and push back when I see that the policies that they're proposing are bad for my constituents in Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn. And that's exactly what I intend to do.
I would like to get your thoughts on Representative Liz Cheney. Of course, she is the third-ranking leader in the House, voted to impeach President Trump, called what Trump did the greatest betrayal of a U.S. president ever. House Republicans are now debating whether or not to remove Cheney from her leadership post. You voted against the impeachment, as you said. But if, as you say, you want to find common ground and help to unify not only your party, but both houses of Congress, do you think that she should be removed from her post for speaking up, as you say you do, when you're pushing back?
Well, look, I certainly disagree with her position on the impeachment, but I don't believe that she should be removed. I believe that she was duly elected unanimously by the conference. I understand that others believe that she should be removed, but I think that we are the party of free expression. We are going to have different opinions. We're not robots. We're not going to agree 100% of the time, all the time. But I do believe that if people want to see a different conference chair, then they have that option to elect or even run themselves if they wish to do so in 2023. But I think that Conference Chair Cheney is doing a good job in keeping the conference informed. And I support her staying for the remainder of her term.
I'd like to talk to you briefly about the pandemic. What are you telling your constituents who are concerned right now about the state of the virus, the distribution of the vaccine, and those who are waiting, sometimes in long, hours-long lines to get the shot?
Yeah, so this has been one of my focuses as a new member of Congress from various perspectives. Number one, we had tried to push the governor, and we did successfully get him to expand the eligible pool of individuals who can now receive the vaccination. We were fighting very hard to get the NYPD officers and teachers eligible for that vaccination, and transit workers, senior citizens over the age of 65. So now he's done that. And now we have long lines of people that actually want to get this vaccination, which is a good thing. The supply has become challenging. We've worked on expanding the number of distribution sites to try to reduce the congestion at the individual sites. And now the third part of this is working on the federal level to try to increase the vaccination distribution, meaning the supply chain, and actually getting more supply to our particular state. So that is the current challenge that we're facing. We have to work with our partners in the pharmaceutical industry to encourage that. The president had talked about perhaps using the defense authorization to be able to increase the supply. That's something that we certainly look to support, and we'll see what we can do. But my understanding, they've been receiving about 250,000 doses here in the state of New York. And as you know, it's proportional based on your population. So New York is the fourth largest state, and therefore they're receiving the fourth most doses. So, we continue to just forge ahead and try to get this vaccine distributed to as many people who want it as fast as possible. I've also worked with our Veterans Administration to get the local VA clinic and hospital in my district to distribute that vaccine to the veterans. That is something that's very important as well, and I support. And we're doing that now. It's currently underway. So that should remove at least the veterans from the general sites where individuals are getting them. And then the senior housing, making sure that New York City Housing Authority, where there are senior residents, that they are distributing that vaccine. We've started doing that at some facilities in my district, and we're going to continue to try to add those sites as supply becomes more available.
Final question, Congresswoman. If the former president were to run again and become a candidate for president in 2024, would you support Donald Trump?
Well, look, 2024 is a long way to go, but I think that the president's got a real good shot. We'll see how this field turns out. I don't know if he's actually interested in doing that. Quite frankly, he hasn't been treated so kindly by some on the other side, but he's a fighter. I don't think he's somebody that gives up. And if he feels that at his age he can still contribute and work to improve America, I think he may possibly jump in, and he'll have a lot of support.
And would you support him?
Well, we'll see when that time comes. It's a long time from now.
All right. Congressman Nicole Malliotakis, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.